It is now time to start our very first panel of the day. Panelists, please come join me on the main stage and turn on your camera and unmute your mics as you are ready. As the panelists start doing that, I'll give you guys a kind of quick introduction to this panel. This is a unique panel here at the Employing US Vets Conference because all of the participating organizations on this panel received our organization's highest award level, Vets Index's 5-star employer, when they participated in the 2022 Vets Index's Employer Awards. This is a very difficult award to receive, and really indicates that the organization is going above and beyond when it comes to veteran employment issues. So again, if you're interested in participating in the Vets Index's Employer Awards, I put up that link in chat as well as mentioning it in my opening remarks a few minutes ago. So please go back and find that, and should be very easy to get all signed up. Now let's get started on our panel. This panel is going to focus on, hi there. This panel is going to focus on building a veteran inclusive culture at your workspace. And joining us to discuss this topic are our panelists. We have Sam Harmon of United Rentals. We have Sheriff Scott Jenkins of the Culpeper County Sheriff's Office. And please go ahead.
I'm Colonel Hawkins with the Sheriff's Office. The sheriff hasn't been able to get here. He's tied up in something else right now.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Colonel Hawkins. He will step in for the sheriff. We have John Lees of Serco, and we have Gary Patton of CACI International. So I will just let you panelists introduce yourselves, and do me a favor, and as you're introducing yourself, also kind of briefly talk about what are, for your organization, the most important elements for creating a veteran inclusive culture. And I'll start with Sam Harmon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. My name is Sam Harmon. I did 9 years in the Army and then bounced around a little bit before finding United Rentals. United Rentals has been an incredible opportunity for me. We've got wonderful people all the way from the top down. And so there's a lot of components that are really important to us, all the way from when we first meet a veteran that hasn't even transitioned yet. We've got programs like Skills Bridge that can bring them on, but we've also, if they're not able to participate in that, we go out, we meet them at their military installations and other venues. We try to create a relationship even before they come on board, thanks to Kelly French and what he does. If you guys are looking for someone to connect, he's a wealth of information. He's very good at what he does. I'll share his name in the chat. He's probably smiling in the background, but he's busy. He's a one-man show. I wish we had 10 of him. But even from just meeting that veteran, once they come in, we have the Veteran ERG, the Employee Resource Group. It's a volunteer organization within United Rentals, and we do everything from creating a sense of community. We help mentor and coach and help onboard. We bring in guest speakers. We support the veterans through their full, all the way through onboarding and hopefully through their retirement. Our goal is to keep veterans wanting to stay at United Rentals through creating a culture that's veteran friendly. We're very proud of the fact that we're over 10% veterans. For all of us that are previous military or military families, you all know that when you see someone in uniform, it's very easy to strike up a conversation. We wear the veteran insignia on all of our uniforms. Whether you're a technician, driver, or work in an office, you have the ability to get veteran embroidered on your hats and your shirts. And so we can recognize each other very quickly, which also helps to create that community. I don't want to steal all the show, but I have a ton of great stuff to share with you all. If you want to connect afterwards, if you're trying to grow your program, United Rentals has done an incredible job, and I'm really passionate about it and very excited to be here today. And thank you to all of you that make this possible. I've attended this for the last couple of years, and we've been able to apply what I've learned from all of you in United Rentals. So thank you to everybody on this call. I'm looking forward to talking to all of you, and thank you for having me.
Please go ahead, John.
Oh, okay. I didn't know I was next. Hey, good afternoon or good morning still, everybody. Thank you very much for having me on this panel. I am John Lees. I am the Senior Manager for Talent Acquisition and Sourcing and Outreach for Serco. Specifically, I focus on veteran outreach as well as military families. My background is I retired in 2015 from the United States Navy as a Command Master Chief. And to all my fellow shipmates out there, I'd like to wish a very happy Navy birthday. Go Navy. Here at Serco, we value the veteran. A large percentage of our company is veterans. We are a premier defense contractor. Serco North America has about 10,000 employees within America as well as Canada. Serco, we realize that the veterans do bring a wealth of knowledge and skills from their military experience. We understand that their background, they have been thrust into fast-paced, high-pressure, competitive environments during their military careers. We feel at Serco that relates directly to our roles supporting this great nation that we support. We understand that veterans and military families as a whole, they understand structure and they must quickly develop good time management skills during their time in the service. And we feel at Serco that that's just a great value, and we value their work ethic. And we do a very good job of outreach efforts to help transitioning veterans into the company, and then obviously once they're on board to make sure their initial days are well and they're brought on correctly. And we obviously strive to retain them as you can imagine. So I'm very happy to be here. Great to hear the other panelists, and look forward to some questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Please go ahead, Gary.
Hey, well, good morning. And I got an Army background, but I'm going to say happy birthday, Navy. So that's a big day. We recognize all the service birthdays at CACI. I'm Gary Patton. I run the Veterans and Military Affairs program for CACI. That we are a national security company, a federal government contractor, and we provide expertise and technology to our government customers, primarily the Department of Defense, the intelligence community, and other federal agencies. A little bit about my background: 35 years in the Army, retired 8 years ago. I've spent 6.5 years at CACI. I think I have the best job at CACI because I get to interact with our veteran employees and our job-seeking veterans and military service members every single day. And that's really, I think, a great part of it. Everybody at our company, I think, shares a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, being a national security company, and of course, like my counterparts on the panel have said, the veterans are a perfect fit into a company like that. It restores their sense of purpose. And we greatly value their work ethic, their self-discipline, and the leadership and training they bring from the military, as well as their security clearance. A majority of our jobs require a security clearance because of the work we do and the environment we operate in with our national security customers. It's we just celebrated our 60th anniversary at CACI, and I would say a long-standing part of our culture in those 60 years has been the value we place on veterans and transitioning service members and military spouses as employees in our company. We're really proud to be a Veterans Vets Index 5-star employer, but we're also proud that 38% of our workforce, our 22,000 plus employees, 38% of them are military or veterans. And just this past year, nearly 50% of all our new hires were military and veterans. So we're really proud of those figures. It doesn't happen by accident, as my fellow panelists have mentioned. I would say the key elements of our program at CACI really does start with outreach and reaching out to the places where those different audiences and different populations are. Military bases, concentrations of veterans, veteran service organizations, transition assistance programs, student veteran programs and boot camps, universities with large student veteran populations. Those are all part of the outreach network who we reach out to on a regular basis to inform, assist, and advocate for those job seekers and provide them job flyers and that sort of thing. So it all starts with outreach, but then there's the hiring phase, and then which my team, we have a 4-person team. we assist and coach our job applicants who are military and veterans through the hiring process. I think that helps. We always put a good word in for those veterans who we've made direct contact with. And then there's, after the hiring, there's the welcome phase. We have what we call the Veterans Inclusion Program, VIP. Every veteran new hire is a VIP. And that includes welcome letters, introductions to our Veterans Employee Resource Group, introduction to our Veteran Transition Mentorship Program. We like to focus on those recently separated veterans coming into the company. Those are veterans who've just left the military within the last 3 years, and those are really our most vulnerable, high-risk population. So we focus our mentoring effort on them. Then there's an integration phase and a really a retention phase where we want our veteran employees, our military and veteran employees to get a sense of belonging. And we do that through things that you've already heard. We have a very active Veterans Employee Resource Group that I'm proud to lead for the past 6 years, and other programs like that, advancement opportunities, leadership development training courses, and the like that really contributes to the retention and promoting that sense of belonging for our military and veteran employees. Again, we're proud that our 60 years, the one thing that has been a thread throughout each of those 60 years of CACI is the value we place on our veterans, and it's just as true today as it was 60 years ago. Tribute to our over close to 8,000 veteran and military employees we have in the company. So again, George, thanks for the opportunity. Look forward to questions, and it's really an honor and privilege to join the panel with my distinguished colleague. I know we got one left, and I'll yield my time to him. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Gary. And now Colonel Hawkins from the Culpeper County Sheriff's Office, who really has a different perspective, and I think an important perspective for us to include here. It's easy to kind of just focus on companies, on very large organizations, but veterans are going to look for and find employment in all sorts of different types of organizations. Your county sheriff's office as a great example. So really looking forward to hearing your perspective. Please take it away, sir.
Yeah, first I'd like to apologize. I was in another meeting and got pulled into this one, so I unfortunately wasn't able to prepare. But our sheriff, he is a strong supporter of this country, our community, and the veterans that have worked so hard to protect this country. And it shows on how he treats the veterans when they come here. Now, I personally do a lot of the interviews on some of the applicants, and a lot of times talking to some of the applicants that are veterans, they've tried to be, I guess you could say, civilian world and working other jobs, and they don't fit in because they don't have the camaraderie. They don't have the structure from what they're saying, and they're looking more into the law enforcement field. And when we bring them in, they seem to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable, putting them back on a uniform, having the structure and the camaraderie that, of course, it's not going to be the same, but it kind of suits the needs, and they feel a little more comfortable in the workplace. Just some of the things that we do, of course, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, they're paid off. They do not have to work. We usually will have veteran events for the veterans within the office. And, we'll have like breakfasts on certain days and bring them in and let them talk to their stories and meet their fellow veterans within the office. And it's a really good workplace when it comes to the veterans, and I think they're very happy here, and we will continue to bring them on as long as they apply. We're bringing them on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Colonel Hawkins, and really appreciate you stepping in on short notice as you did. So I have a few questions lined up for this panel. My plan is to, spend the next 20 minutes or so asking you all questions, and then I'd like to turn it over to audience questions. So please, if any of the attendees who are watching now have any questions that have already occurred to you, please put them in chat. And as they come up during this conversation, just please enter them into chat. And about 12:15 or 12:20, I'll stop our portion and kind of go on to the audience question portion. So would really welcome your questions. But let me start with a question, and please, anybody on the panel, whoever wants to take it first, just jump in and start talking. Think of this as a jump ball. I want to kind of maybe ground the conversation a little more and talk about how we define a veteran inclusive culture. There's all sorts of different approaches. There's different terminology that folks use. Some call it welcoming culture of veterans. I prefer inclusive because it's kind of more active. We want to do more than welcome veterans to the organization. We want to include them as well. But talk to me about how you all define, how your organizations define what makes a veteran inclusive culture, and what sorts of benchmarks, what sorts of items you would put under that.
I'd like to go first. I think, and that is near and dear to my heart because having been in the situation of transitioning and not really being sure of where I was going to go, even after 30 years of doing, great work for this great nation, one of the key things and the most striking thing to me at Serco is a very critical aspect to be able to let veterans know that we want them, and that's key to a community who is coming from a culture of unit integrity and just some great things, to know that there are companies out there that value that so much. So we at Serco, we utilize intentional veteran specific searches. So whether they be social media pages or organizations, we also find partnering with nonprofits that help veteran transitioning to be very helpful, because the DoD, even though they do the best job that they possibly can to prepare veterans for transition, sometimes they fall short and leave either people at the top or people at the bottom, and they lack. So we find that some nonprofits that specifically target that helps with partnerships with employers. So we strive ourselves to reach out to them. We develop relationships with military-based programs as well as community resource providers, and obviously referral programs. At Serco is a very big initiative that we have, our Serco Vets ERG group, and they're our deputized outreach recruiters. They're scouring their networks and bringing transitioning veterans and military spouses into the company at a record rate. So we really pride ourselves with a great, strong referral program as well. So I'll transition over to the next panel member, but I'd like to say that's how we do things at Serco.
Well, I'll jump in on that question now too. At CACI, I think to be inclusive, the first thing that comes to mind, George, is that it's not just veterans. So we find ourselves saying veterans, but it's really veteran and military, because there's different populations with different demographics and needs and so forth. So, to be inclusive, the first thing we do is include the veterans with our military spouses, with the transitioning service members who will soon be veterans, and the fourth group, active serving National Guardsmen and reservists who are employees in the company. We have hundreds of them too. And so each of them have different needs. I think being inclusive means addressing all of their needs. And for example, yesterday I led a focus group of National Guardsmen and reservists. They were talking to me about their the pay differential policy that we have that enables them to be reimbursed for periods of time. We go to 12 months period where their difference between their company pay and the military pay is paid to them as a pay differential, and various issues along those lines. But I mean, it's just part of that inclusion is keeping the National Guardsmen and reservists as part of the group. The other element, I think, to inclusion is it's really got to be and it's part of any culture, but it's got to be something that's embedded across every level of the company, senior leadership, management levels, new employees, longtime employees, and the way we do that is through a training program. And like in the military, any effective training program has got to be repetitive. It's got to be at multi echelons, and you just got to keep after it because you have turbulence at every level, and you got to recycle the training from time to time. And so the training that we have training for new hires that introduces every new hire to our Veterans and Military Affairs program and the aspects of it that of why we value veterans. We have training for hiring managers so that they're aware of the special needs, the conditions, the values, and so forth, the characteristics that our veterans and military bring to the table in the hiring process. We have training for HR business partners. We have training for program managers. Earlier this week, rather, I spent a good part of the afternoon in a training session with program managers, introducing them to the Skill Bridge program, which we've already heard about, and why that's important and what value that can bring to their side of the business as it relates to transitioning service members and new hires. So I think that level of training brings a level of situational awareness, a level of different levels of stakeholders, and a buy-in to the culture that is really something that we're very proud of, but something that you can't take for granted. Just as soon you think you have all the hiring managers trained on something, there may be some turbulence and you'll see them change. And so you have to be repetitive. It has to occur at multi echelons, and of course you need the support from top down in the company leadership that support and sort of top cover and the intent for the entire overall program. But I think the training aspects, and then the inclusion of multiple military and veteran audiences in all of your program, I think are some of the key elements there as it relates to inclusion. And then I'll just conclude by saying, there's a lot of aspects of it, but when you really put it down to it, when you really think about this as an employer value proposition, what do we give the employee as an employer? We want the veterans to know that they get the benefits, they get the opportunities, they get a chance to continue their mission in a national security company, but maybe most importantly, they get a sense of belonging because of the things I've mentioned and the other elements of that program that I think is really overarching. You asked about metrics. Of course, the easy metric in all this is retention metric to see how we're doing. We break up our veterans. We look at it by program. We look at it by overseas and CONUS. We look at their attrition by age group and by demographics, and we try and slice and dice it, do some analysis and correlate. And we generally see the high risk group. The one that we want to spend the most attention to on mentorship and some of these other efforts are the recently separated veterans, those that have just entered the workforce. I think that's my colleagues would agree that's the high risk group that we focus some of these programs in, and that's really our best metric. If we're retaining them, I think we can correlate that to success in the overall inclusivity of our program. Thank you.
Excellent. Please
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to state that both of those gentlemen are exactly right. You need to, when we bring our veterans to understand that they're a little bit above the notch than the regular person. As soon as they come into office, they are into our office and they are appointed and sworn in. They're issued a custom pin that goes on their uniform that specifically states that they are a veteran. And, they're held to a little bit of a higher level, and they represent our office very well. And we do everything we can to make them feel part of the family. And when it comes to retention, I believe our first year was 100%, and I think it's continued on very good from there. When the veterans come in, they realize that they are in a family, and we try to treat them like family. They are given, like I said earlier, they're given a little bit more things, not physical things, but more events that we have that we share time together with the office, with other veterans, and they fit in very well in this line of work. And you know, my dad was a veteran, and he worked with the state, and he had the same situation there. You know, you needed the structure, you needed the camaraderie that they don't have in typically some of the civilian jobs. And you know, we I'm sorry. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I was giving her some points and she was trying to remember for me. Yeah, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, when they're brought in as well, is that we want them to self-identify as a veteran, and to let everybody know that that's who they are, that's their background. And usually, even if we didn't put a pin on them or we call them a veteran, people know where they came from, their background, and those are always the ones that excel. You know, if I sit back and look at our entire command staff, I would, without actually thinking about it, I would say we're probably 80 to 95% veterans in our command staff. And it shows. They know how to lead. They know how to be a leader to their people. And yeah, sorry. That's
excellent. Thank you so much. Great material there. So I want to take things in kind of a different direction. We've talked a lot about what makes for a good veteran culture, a good kind of veteran inclusive culture. But you know, I think an even bigger issue, and I think probably what a lot of folks watching today want to make sure they avoid in this regard, is creating a bad veteran culture, creating a culture where veterans feel unwelcome, excluded, you know, maybe kind of pushed to the side. So please, again, another jump ball, please just jump in as you like. But talk to me about what you think are the most important things to avoid to make sure that your, you know, culture is welcoming to veterans and not the opposite.
I can speak to it a little bit. So one big thing, and I agree with everything. Sounds like you have incredible organizations, and we are striving to do a lot of those same things. A lot of times we may focus too much on the veteran themselves, and what we actually need to be doing at the same time, it's important. We need to focus on the veterans. We need to make sure that they feel included, but we have to educate our staff who are not veterans, who might be uncomfortable or have different stereotypes in their minds of what a veteran is that they are scared of. So they assume that all veterans have PTSD, that we have meltdowns at work, that we aren't capable of leading in the civilian workforce, that we're going to embarrass them in public places. And so one thing that we've been doing a lot in the last couple of years is advocating for our veterans to non-veteran hiring managers, branch managers, people who are going to interact and help promote these veterans. And we've talked a lot about this as we've stood up our mentoring programs and our sponsor programs when we first onboard, is do we want to link them up only with another veteran? But we recognize that veterans aren't necessarily that skilled in networking, because in our experience from the military, you do your job and then in 2 years you get promoted, you move on to the next thing, you PCS, you already know the role you're going into. In the civilian sectors, you have to learn how to network and fight for the next position that you want, advocate for yourself. And that can be a very uncomfortable position for a veteran to be in, because they're used to not having to do that. And so when we talk about, do we link veterans up with only veterans, or how do we link them up? We've really come to the conclusion that we need to link them up with sometimes non-veterans in the positions that veteran wants to be in the future, because it helps both parties understand each other better. It can help them bridge any gaps in their skills. It's important, though, for us that we've seen a gap in that we're trying to bridge is talking to our non-veteran hiring managers and other leaders in the company so that they feel more comfortable with our veterans. They understand the skills that those veterans bring to the table. They get rid of those stereotypes once they meet these wonderful veterans. And then seeing that these veterans, a lot of times veterans come into the workforce and they come into positions where all of their skills aren't being utilized to the max that they can. So we all know on this call that a soldier that comes in that was an E5, they probably led a squad, they probably led missions, they did a lot of things that you wouldn't ordinarily expect a 19, 23-year-old person to do. And then they come into a position where they're not in a leadership position and they just accept it and they stay quiet. And so continuing to advocate for these folks, we grab their resumes, find out what they did, and then help translate those skills so that people know what their worth is in the workforce. And so that's a big piece, is just advocating for them, teaching them how to network, and then connecting them to people that can help get them to the next position. Because if their skills aren't utilized and they feel like they're underemployed, they're going to leave the company. And so that's one big thing that we're trying to do. And I can't wait to hear from the other gentlemen on this call on what you guys do.
Hey, there's some really good tips there, Sam, and I'm taking notes here too. Some great points, especially on the stereotyping. Those are the kind of things we want to include in our training. A couple things that really we try and head off if we hear about these things, because we're going in the wrong direction. I mean, we want to head off any sort of conversation in the offer phase about, oh, well, that person's retired, therefore they're getting a pension, therefore that could lead to a lower offer in terms of salary and so forth. The pension retirement, military retirement is not on the table. And that's something in your back pocket. You've earned it, and that's not something that should ever be compromised. So that's a big no-go. I don't like to hear any discussions of rank. Of course, there are some customers who are looking for someone, maybe a retired Navy Master Chief. But what we try and translate that to is years of experience, leadership responsibilities, skill sets, and so forth, levels of responsibility, and take the rank out of the discussion, so that we're looking for the person. We're not looking for a rank. We're rank immaterial at every position at CACI, and so I don't really like to see that in that type of discussion. One thing that helps, Sam mentioned translating. The other thing we help translate, sometimes we forget our military spouses out there. Their resumes are a patchwork of jobs here, jobs there, gaps in their employment. And, the first thing a hiring manager is going to look at when they see a military spouse resume is, well, that person can't keep a job, or where they've been out of the workforce for so many years. Or those are just gross misperceptions. And so we can always help, I think, that translation of, well, when we advocate for a military spouse job applicant, we're going to say something like, this person's a very suitable fit for your job. You'll notice that there are some gaps in her career, and that's because she's been home taking care of her family while her service member was deployed. His or her career, we got plenty of, we got male and female military spouses for sure. But advocating and explaining and translating that for our hiring managers, so they recognize that what they're seeing on the resume is not at the fault of the military spouse, but really due to their self-sacrifice and support of their service members. And then lastly, I'll just say, just to key on one thing Sam said is, help promote the fact that our job-seeking veterans and transitioning service members and military spouses are very versatile. And, while they may have an intelligence analyst background, they've made a living, they've made a career of analyzing things. So maybe we don't have an intelligence analyst position, but a business analyst position. And that same analysis mindset, skill set, and discipline that apply to that job is equally applicable to that different job in a different job category. We just hired a SkillBridge intern who is an Intel analyst as a business analyst. Again, applying his analytical skills to a job a little bit different, a little bit off of what he had been doing, but still capitalizing on those, the core analytical skill sets. So I think those are the kind of things, don't not trying to prevent our military service members from being vectored into a certain category when they're very versatile and can apply their skills in a broader range of job categories. So those are just some of the things I think to be alert to, and any company is going to hear and see those things, and I think it's our role to sort of head them off at the pass there and promote the positive things we've all talked about through, again, a multi-echelon repetitive training program. Thank you.
Excellent. So it's already 12:17. Time flies when you're having fun. Our panel is due to wrap up at 12:25, and we've already gotten a bunch of great questions from the audience. Really appreciate your engagement. In light of that, I want to just kind of stop this conversation where it is right now and the audience questions, which are really, really good. The first one that I want to queue up for you guys focuses on an issue that I think is particularly important to developing a strong veteran inclusive culture and your military veteran employee resource group, ERG. So we have one question on ERGs asking what types of activities have been the most popular for veteran ERGs, and I'll add on to that, have kind of drawn the most engagement and had good results for you all.
I've got one that I'd love to share with you guys. Our company does roundtables when an event in the news, whatever happens. We did a roundtable after Afghanistan. Some veterans wanted to talk about how it made them feel, what they wanted to see, if there was any support the company could bring. And out of those Afghanistan roundtables, we had a call and it brought all the veterans together. And the biggest ask was, can we meet more as a veteran community? And so we built this call that we have once a month. It's called Charlie Mike, Continue Mission. And so once a month we have a call. All veterans in the company are invited to this call, and military spouses. And we ask them what kind of topics they want to cover. And we've done everything from, some folks have come in and asked, how do I adapt my leadership skills so that I'm more likable in the civilian workforce? This knife hand direction is not really working for me. We've brought in guests. I saw a couple questions in the sidebar about mental health. We brought in somebody from Boulder Crest who talked about the pillars that they teach around PTSD and then post-traumatic growth. So we brought in a guest speaker about that. We brought in guest speakers about new things that the VA is rolling out that benefit veterans and what they should be signing up for, how to sign up for the burn pits. We've had leaders inside the company talk about their experiences, how they found a mentor in the company and how they've gotten promoted and things that they've done. And so really, really diverse conversations. It all comes from what our veterans are asking for. But if there's one thing that our company did that people keep saying, this makes us feel included, this makes us feel heard, it's our Charlie Mike calls that we hold once a month as an ERG. And it's been really, really successful. Some other things we've launched and then people hasn't gained traction. That's the one thing people, they say, please don't let that go away.
I think just building on that, our Veterans Employee Resource Group, we've established chapters across the company where we see a concentration of veterans, military spouses in the workforce. And what that helps is those chapters can really relate at the sort of the grassroots level with their local military and veterans community. And they're doing things like helping the Parks and Recreation, City Parks and Rec, clean up the Veterans Park in Oklahoma City. And other things on kind of a grassroots local level. We see our veterans really rallying around activities, volunteerism, and ways to give back to their local military and veterans community. And we do that on a national scale too. We partnered with the National Park Service and we had 30 veterans at Zero Dark 30 on Armed Forces Day helping clean and wash the wall, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial over in the National Mall. We have an annual wreath laying ceremony where we'll lay a CACI wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on the weekend before Veterans Day. And we'll bring our Verge members into that on sacred ground and a tribute to our fallen comrades. And I think there's those activities that really resonate with our veterans: volunteerism, patriotism, and anything of that nature that you can come up with. I mean, really, the sky's the limit. we've just recently explored the idea of honor flight, serving as guardians and escorts and welcome reception committees at various national airports for the Honor Flight Foundation that sends veterans to DC for the memorial tour. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and it's just really being creative. I've recently appointed an officer in our Veterans Employee Resource Group. Her sole mission is developing community outreach activities for our nearly 550 members in the Verge that are not affiliated with local chapters and that sort of thing. And then, again, inclusivity. 2 of our 7 local chapter presidents are military spouses, and 2 of our 5 vice presidents are military spouses or military allies. So it's really, you gotta walk the walk and talk the talk, and having all elements of our military constituencies represented in those kinds of things is, I think, important to demonstrating that inclusivity is more than just a word. It's something that we really believe in and action on a regular basis. Thank you.
Yeah, I just also like to add in, and there was one question about TAP. So what we've really done that's moved the needle and has really promoted inclusion is we put the job fair schedule out. We put our TAP class schedule interactions out. We let our ERG veterans know, and military families who are included on that, know where we're going to be for outreach efforts, encouraging them to sign up and come out with us and tell that story of how their transition was and what led them to Serco and why someone else should come be part of the Serco team. We find that the proof is in the pudding when you stand there and explain to them what their challenges were, other than just the traditional recruiting staff or somebody like that. So that has been a pretty much a game changer to be able to kind of tell that story and relate to the transitioning veteran or the military spouse or family member.
Excellent. So it's already 12:23. The panel's supposed to end at 12:25, but also the next thing up is a break. So we can take a few extra minutes, and I want to do that to address one last question. There were so many great questions that you all submitted. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to all of them, but the one that I want to focus on right now, and please just all of you take a swing at this and let me know what you guys think, and try to make this kind of a lightning round so we don't keep folks on too long. But talk to me about what approaches to new employee orientation, particularly onboarding, but also mentorship, training, et cetera, you found are helpful for transitioning service members, particularly senior transitioning service members, to help them combat the drastic change in culture, especially leadership culture, that comes with going from the military structure to the civilian corporate structure.
I can make mine really fast. So we have a new hire. We go from everything from how to order all the stuff for their uniforms, so we can identify them as veterans. All the networking opportunities that we provide for veterans. So it's just like a one-over call of here's how to get involved. Here's who your resources are. If you need anything at all, here's our veteran resource email. Reach out to us with anything, absolutely anything, and we mean it. So that's number one, is our new hire call. We link them up with another veteran in the company that's as in close proximity as possible. For a lot of our branches, there's veterans right there for them. Some of them, there's a 30 to 50 mile differential. So we link them up with somebody in the company. And then lastly, we invite them to those Charlie Mike calls. Every veteran in the company gets an invite to all of our big events, but those 3 things. So the new hire call, link them up with another veteran in the company immediately, and then invite them to our monthly calls just to get them networking and involved.
To specifically address the piece on senior retirees, I think there's, of course, they go through all the same steps of onboarding and integration and welcome and so forth that all of our employees do. But I think when we bring on a retired general officer or flag officer, I get involved. I know the transition is difficult no matter what rank you're at, and I get involved and usually have sort of a one-on-one mentoring session or sessions with them just to explain things. Like I've sat down with recently we hired a 3-star general out of the Army, and I sat down with him for quite a bit of time and just talked to him about benefits. I mean, there's just the higher the rank you are doesn't mean you understand these things. In some cases, you may have less understanding because your transition and the coursework that you did as you transitioned was less or less opportunity, and so may have less information on these things. We talked about health insurance options. We talked about stock purchasing options and various things that might be really isolated at the executive level in terms of transition items. And I think it's important to have somebody like that in the company to help those people too, because they're just as clueless on a lot of these things as I was when I transitioned from the military. And I had a mentor of mine in the company to help me kind of work my way through those things. I think I mean, you don't hire a lot of them. So I think, identifying 1 or 2 individuals as that sort of high touch element to address executives that transition, I think is another important component of this sort of multi-level, multi-event integration piece. Thank you.
Yeah, with the sheriff's office, it's pretty much everybody's brought in the exact same. The uniforms, scheduling for the academy. The only difference is for veterans is we have a liaison here at the office that's part of her job. Is any new hires that come in that are military veterans, they will be directed to her, and she's a one-on-one person that will assist them with any services that they need in moving over into this type of career. And she issues out the veteran pins and tells, explains to them all the stuff that we do and what to look forward to and so on.
Excellent. Well, we are right at 12:29 right now, so I will cut this panel short. Thank you so much to each of our panelists. I feel like you guys did an amazing job. What we're hoping for is concrete, specific information that other folks at other organizations can, kind of take home to their organizations and apply. And you all did a fantastic job giving a lot of those great specifics. So thank you so much. Next on the agenda is a nice little break. So we're going to be on break from 12:30 right now to 12:50. Please join us in our lounges. And then we are back at it at 12:50 with a panel sponsored by USAA on how to build the best veteran recruiting team. Looking forward to that, and thank you all so much.